Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The National Security Minister reveals plans to assist members of the Defence Force and Protective Services to make their jobs more comfortable. The Emancipation Support Committee holds annual lecture series on the contribution made by Africans to the Trinidad and Tobago Society. And in our sport report, another example of using sport to change lives. Thank you for joining us. Better compensation packages and resources are some of the goodies in the gift bag for the Defence Force. This as National Security Minister the Honourable Jack Warner is revealing some of his plans to assist members of the Defence Force and Protective Services to make their jobs more comfortable. Minister Warner was speaking at the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment's Golden Anniversary Parade at Tetron Barracks in Chaguaramas.
Before asking you what I want of you next 50 years, we have to be able to fix your compensation package. A package which was last fixed in 2007. You haven't taken the government to court. You haven't protested. You have continued to work diligently. But this country must not take that for granted. And we therefore have to give you the means of comfort so that you can do your work better.
The good news for members of the Defence Force being announced by the National Security Minister, who came well-stocked, bearing even more goodies for them in his rather large gift bag. Minister Warner says every effort will be made to provide all the resources and working conditions needed to perform their jobs more effectively.
I must tell you that I will give you the resources and the tools to make you do your work better. It was good to see the line of equipment pass here. Those trucks and so on you saw pass here a while ago. You got them last Thursday. The first set in the last 18 years. And while I was sitting there quietly, your commanding officer was asking me whether he could ask for some more. I said, bring it on. Bring it on, commanding officer. We shall give you the means to perform. We shall give you the equipment that you so sorely need.
The protective services and their families may also be provided with their very own military hospital. This, as Minister Warner says, he is considering the idea. He says there will be an increase in the size of the Defence Force reserves, as plans are also being revealed to beef up the Army population.
We shall investigate to see how far it's possible to even consider for you and the other arms of the protective services a military hospital for you and your families. Because the time has come when we have to lift this to a higher level. And in the case of the Coast Guard also, the equipment which they need, they shall get. The Defence Force reserves, the numbers shall be increased, and they shall have a separate budget, which they don't have now. The strength of the Army shall also be increased, because I'm advised that the Army is almost 1,000 men short.
The Defence Force Act, Minister Warner says, is a main priority which needs urgent amending.
One of the first things one has to do to make your life better is to amend the very obnoxious Defence Force Act, which is in dire need of reform. And before I came here, I called the AG overseas and told him I'm coming here, and when he returns in 12 days' time, that must be top priority.
The gifts are being promised to arrive in just under 1 year's time. The very proactive National Security Minister says his aim is to have the regiment assist in fighting crime. He has written a letter to Top Cop Dwayne Gibbs warning him to reopen all closed police stations. He notes that the Precept Defence Force officers will be utilized to open those stations which are deficient in strength. He is also calling on the Defence Force to teach their counterparts in the police service how to take care of their police stations and vehicles. Minister Warner is expressing his desire to provide the police with better compensation packages as well.
We shall precept 1,000 officers in the Army to go after the criminals. to flush them out wherever they are. We will be able to use the Army in joint patrols and evening patrols on their own. And we will be able to use the Army to help to open up those police stations which, of course, are deficient in strength. In fact, a couple of days ago, I wrote the Commissioner of Police. I told him to open back my police stations.
Veena Bharath, News 4.
The hosting of the World Skills Competition 2012 will see secondary school students utilize vocational training to the highest international standards. Tertiary Education Minister, the Honorable Fazal Karim, launching this year's competition, says it will provide a competitive platform for a revision of the current training systems in collaboration with international partners.
World Skills Trinidad and Tobago Competition 2012 has been launched. The competition will see students from the secondary school system utilize vocational training to the highest international standards. This program is specifically developed to encompass all the key aspects of the Caribbean Vocational Qualification CVQ as instituted in the secondary school system. Tertiary Education Minister Fazal Karim says the program will assist in the development of innovation and competitiveness in the skills arena not only locally but internationally.
In a world of tremendous opportunities and risk, in which societies among us face complex business, political, scientific, technological, health and environmental challenges, and in diverse workplaces and communities that hinge on collaborative relationships and social networking, the ingenuity, the agility, and skills of Trinidad and Tobago's citizens are crucial to our nation's future competitiveness.
The competition is open to Trinidad and Tobago nationals between the ages of 15 to 21 with a background in technical vocational education and training. The minister adds the partnership with the international stakeholders will aid this country in achieving a more diversified, sustainable economy.
Our ability to compete as a nation and to attract growth industries and create jobs demands a fresh approach to tertiary education and skills training. We need to recognize that this forms the bedrock of competitiveness, the engine, not simply an input of the economy. And as I said earlier on, every aspect must be aligned to prepare our citizens to compete.
Minister Karim views this as a strategic move that will see the creation of jobs.
The time has come for us to really move from thought to action. And in between that, the thought to the walk and then to the talk, so that we move from research to commercialization. We move from idea to entrepreneurship, because what we are doing here is not only developing the skills component and skills excellence for those who may want to work for others and therefore become wage earners, but more importantly, those who will create jobs.
It's the aim of the World Skills Program to stimulate a desire for continuous learning and an appreciation for the efforts made by schools to provide holistic education. The competition will run from July to October 2012 throughout TNT by providing a competitive platform through which our existing competency standards can be evaluated and compared to that of world-class competency standards within the trade and industry service sectors. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us.
Never leave items like MP3 players, portable DVD players, laptops and briefcases on view inside your vehicle. It is an open invitation for a thief. Don't leave them on show. If you cannot take them with you, place them in the trunk of your car. Remember, crime prevention is everyone's business. A message from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
Welcome back to our News 4 report. Great words of advice are being offered to some 101 successful SEA students by motivational speaker Veera Bajan. The students were honored at the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission SEA Awards for children of employees who sat the examination this year, where they were urged to believe in themselves and be the very best that they can be.
Close to 100 SEA students were treated to inspiring words of encouragement by motivational speaker Veera Bajan at the TNTEX SEA Awards presentation. Ms. Bajan, who was born without arms but learned to write with her toes, went on to excel at ordinary and advanced level studies before completing her law degree. She shared some of her past challenges and personal experiences while urging the youngsters to take control of their future.
A passport is something that you need to go somewhere. And to me, and for my life, my passport was quite simple. All you need is you. You and you alone are the passport to your future. I'm sure you heard of some of my achievements before, and I know you probably thought to yourself, how did she get there? And I will start by telling you that it was a conscious choice that I made in my life. I chose to take control and took responsibility for who I become. And I encourage you to do the same. When I was probably about 7 years old, I had a dream for myself. I had a dream of being an attorney at law. And to be honest, at that point in time, I had no idea what that meant. But I knew that that was my dream. When I visualized my future, I saw myself as being an attorney. And I woke up every single day and I worked towards that dream. Therefore, I encourage all of you to have some sort of vision for your future. Visualize where you see yourself 5 years, 10 years from now, and work every single day towards that dream.
Attitude is greater than any obstacle one can face. Ms. Bajan says that was her secret to success, developing the right attitude in spite of the circumstances. She went on to explain how her attitude towards overcoming her challenges played a key role in determining her success.
I've had to face challenges throughout my life. My challenge is quite visible to all of you, but I know each of you would face challenges as you move on to this new step in your life. I encourage you to take these challenges and use them as opportunities to grow, simply by changing how you see them. The challenges and the trials you face will not only test you, but they will strengthen you. I was born with a challenge, and as a result of that, I was faced with numerous challenges throughout my life. But I've never allowed my challenges to stop me from achieving my dreams. For I've always believed that my strength and my abilities were far greater than my challenges. I am a strong believer in trying, and I encourage all of you to never stop trying. I believe once you try your best, the best will return to you. For me, trying my best meant digging deep inside me and finding my strengths, and not just knowing that they are there, but using them to my full potential. Nothing is really over until the moment you stop trying. I can't begin to tell you how many times I had to try before I was able to write with my toes or use the computer with my toes.
Ms. Bajan also urged parents to be the good role models to their children who can be looked upon for guidance.
I encourage you to set footsteps for your children to follow. Let your dreams and your children's dreams be one, and work every single day towards achieving them. This is the time for a perfect start. I encourage all of you to make the right choices.
Meanwhile, Public Utilities Minister Nizam Baksh, who also spoke at the event, also urged the students to take it upon themselves to stand out in the crowd of negativism and be the ones to overcome the challenges of life.
When many of your peers use whatever passport they may possess to run from the problems around them or neglect their responsibilities, you must be the ones who remain. I want you to brighten the corner where you are through positive actions in your school or your community. Sometimes you may be able to tackle these problems alone. For others, you may require the guidance of a Mr. Finch in your lives. And today, we have Veera Bajan with us. Very good example.
Veena Bharath, News 4.
In other news, in commemoration of Emancipation Day, the Emancipation Support Committee held its annual lecture series on the contribution made by Africans to the Trinidad and Tobago Society. Addressing those gathered, Dr. Ralph Henry, Research, Education and Development Officer of Trinidad and Tobago Organization of People of African Descent, noted that our pluralistic society all began with their landing in Trinidad and Tobago.
The contribution made by the African diaspora living here in Trinidad and Tobago cannot be denied. And according to Dr. Ralph Henry, Trinidad and Tobago's multiculturalism is proof of this. He was speaking at the annual Kwame Ture lecture on African contribution held at Nallis, where he notes that the end of slavery was responsible for setting the tone for diversity in Trinidad and Tobago.
From the Sylvester Williams and the Roald Duglin, etc., we can see that we were already building a certain kind of culture, and we were already committed to a certain kind of institutional framework. An institutional framework which was inclusive, and Tracy said it, which allowed us to teach everybody and to work with everybody. And it is perhaps responsible for our having multiple identities, because we have been involved with everybody. We share with everybody. So even when we call ourselves African, you can see in our families and in every aspect of our being that we are embracing. And I suppose it's natural, because the Africans, we were all Africans in the first instant.
Dr. Henry adds that while over a century had passed since slavery had ended, more effort was needed for persons to move away from the negatives endured by slavery and embrace the positive aspects that have made this group stronger.
Let us work together to build a society of all humanity. This is 1888. A man who would have seen the effects of slavery, but saying, yes, all right, we must not forget it, but we must not be so bitter about it that we cannot recognize humanity in others, including among those who had exploited us.
The series of lectures will continue in the lead-up to celebration of emancipation on August 1st and will include discussions with the head of Emancipation Support Committee, Kafra Cambon. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Wayne Cunningham has a sport report right after the break.
Dads aren't the only ones who beat up on kids. Sometimes kids beat up on kids.
Every child has the right to be protected from violence, abuse, and neglect.
Because I shouldn't be afraid to go to school or play with my friends.
Because no child should be hurt by adults or by other children.
Because safety is my right. Stop the bullying.
Unite for children.
Our sport report features another example of using sport to change lives. The Swimming to Success program is an initiative of businessman William Monroe, which aims to steer the forgotten and troubled youth in the areas of San Juan, Laventille on the right path. At the recent graduation ceremony for Cycle 3 of the program, the Honorable Winston Peters, Minister of Community Development, was high in praise for the program and its founder. Here's more from Wayne Cunningham.
It was a day of accolades, awards and demonstrations when the graduation ceremony for the third cycle of the Swimming to Success program was held in San Juan. The program is the brainchild of businessman William Monroe, a man who the Honorable Winston Peters, Minister of Community Development, knows well.
Let me just say that from where I stand here today, Mr. Monroe played a very important role in my life. I know that he is the inspiration behind all that's happening here. Well, in a lot of ways, he's the inspiration behind me, because he has given me hope when there was very little in my life. As a matter of fact, when I came to Port of Spain in the Calypso tents, Mr. Monroe was the man who not only me, but who enabled a lot of Calypsonians in Trinidad and Tobago to have a big payday, because he's that kind of person who believes that whatever you do, you must do it with style. And you must pay people for it.
The minister also shared some of his childhood with the participants.
As most of you would know, I am from Mayaro. And just about every child in Mayaro basically can in fact swim, but we never had any fancy pool or any instructors. I learned to swim when I was about 3 years or 4 years old, and I learned to swim in a place called Lago Maho. So I know how enjoyable this 10 weeks program must have been for you wonderful young people who took part in it. I also know that you would have learned some very valuable lessons from this program. I am certain that a number of you would not have been great swimmers before, or as we know that you weren't great swimmers because we heard a little earlier on about your fears of the water, which you have conquered, and now you're well on your way.
Minister Peters urged all to support and develop community initiatives like Swimming to Success.
The structure of this program helps children in the San Juan, Santa Cruz area to channel their energies in positive activities. They connect with other young people in their area and have enhanced their future prospects. You have demonstrated foresight in developing this community that people outside this area may have never thought of. Above all, you have sustained this program for the past 3 years. I want you to know that you have my ministry's full support for this venture in the years to come.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
More news after the breaks. Thank you for staying with us. The National Academy for Performing Arts South Campus should be opened within the next 2 months. This according to Minister of Arts and Multiculturalism, Dr. the Honorable Lincoln Douglas, who toured the site. Minister Douglas says the only setback is the need to complete some final finishes and minor adjustments to the property before a decision is taken on the opening date.
The ministry has engaged the services of contractors and engineering company to look over the mechanical, the electrical, the physical, the performing spaces, etc. The company has done a good bit of work and has handed us a report. Last Friday they submitted a report to the Ministry of the People and to the Ministry of Arts and Multiculturalism. We put together a committee and a team with a number of stakeholders that included members from Naparima Bowl, Queen's Hall, UTT, Napa, from the North, the Cultural Division from our ministry, people from San Fernando and the South, and we're setting out right now a timetable for the official and formal opening of this facility.
Arts and Multiculturalism Minister Dr. Douglas was accompanied by San Fernando Mayor Navi Muradali during his tour of the Southern National Academy for the Performing Arts. The minister said Shanghai Construction Group, the Chinese firm which constructed the building, have already handed over the facility to the Urban Development Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago, UDECOT. He adds that he is aiming to have the facility opened before Republic Day on September 24th.
Although an opening depends on the completion of the work of the teams, the ministry is aiming to have Napa opened very soon to facilitate many of the aspects of our independence and our celebrations between August and September. I am almost certain that for independence and before Republic, somewhere in between there, we will have it open.
Minister Douglas says all will be done to ensure that when the facility is opened, there are no problems with the electrical, the plumbing, the surfaces, or even just the general comfort. He adds it's for this reason the facility will be given a test run of sorts before its formal opening.
Between now and the formal opening, there'll be a number. You will be open to a number of events that will be happening here that people can participate. So we'll be able to experience both whether it's comfortable to sit, whether you can see from all angles, how the stage works, all the moving parts working. All of those things will be tested, and because we still have some period within a period of time here to deal with a lot of the issues that might need repairs.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you so much for joining us.